Pay attention to what I'm about to reveal to you right now, because this moment is unlike any other you've lived before. You're standing on the edge of a truth that most men will never even glimpse, a truth buried under years of lies, politeness, and social programming designed to keep you tame, invisible, and safe. What you're about to discover is the dirtiest method to seduce any woman. And when I say dirty, don't mistake me. I'm not talking about immorality. I'm not talking about manipulation. I'm not talking about being cruel. It's dirty because it breaks the rules. It's dirty because it rips apart the script you've been handed since childhood. It's dirty because it works while everything you were told to do has failed you again and again. Think of it like this. Most men are playing checkers, repeating the same predictable moves, hoping for luck. But you're about to step into a different arena entirely. You're about to play chess on a board most men don't even see. You're going to learn moves that confuse, disrupt, and flip the entire dynamic upside down. And when you master this, you will never look at women, seduction, or even yourself the same way again. You know that ache in your chest, the one that burns when you see the woman you crave laughing with another guy while you stand silent, paralyzed, invisible? You know that endless frustration of being the nice friend, the shoulder to cry on, the safe harbor she returns to after being broken by another man, while she never sees you as more than background? That ends here. That ends today, because the world has lied to you. Your friends, your family, the movies you watched, the culture you absorbed, they all whispered the same poisonous mantra. Be nice, be polite, be respectful, buy gifts, prove yourself, be safe. And you obeyed. You followed their script. You did everything right. And where did it lead? To rejection, to ghosting, to the friend zone, to loneliness. But here's the brutal truth. Women do not fall in love with safety. They do not lust after predictability. They do not crave the man who bends over backward to please them. Attraction is not born in logic. It's born in the ancient, primal, unconscious layers of the brain. The part of her that doesn't care about flowers or perfume. The part of her that doesn't calculate how much you spent or how many emojis you used in your messages. That primitive brain only cares about one thing. Does this man make me feel something? And that something is not calm, not comfort, not predictability. It's tension, it's curiosity. It's a flicker of danger mixed with confidence, the intoxicating cocktail that wakes up every fiber of her body and whispers, "Pay attention to him." Think about it. Why does that guy, the one who isn't even particularly good-looking, the one who doesn't have money, the one who seems rough around the edges, why does he get the women you dream about? Because he radiates something you haven't yet unlocked. He radiates a presence that says, "I don't need you, but I choose you." Yes, but he radiates the paradox that attraction feeds on. The less you chase, the more she follows. And here lies the secret code that only 3% of men ever stumble upon. It's not about gifts. It's not about words. It's not about perfection. It's about triggering the subconscious through a system I call the MO pillars. 4 foundations that transform the ordinary into the magnetic. And once you embody them, women will feel something around you that they cannot resist, something they cannot explain, something they cannot forget. The first pillar is movement. And movement doesn't begin with a greeting, with a predictable, "Hi, how are you?" No. Movement begins with disruption. A break in the script, a spark in the silence, a shift in the rhythm that jolts her out of autopilot. Imagine every day, every conversation she has is like static on a radio. Men walk up, repeat the same lines, the same energy, the same dead patterns. Her brain has learned to tune them out automatically. But then you appear, and you cut through the noise. You say something that doesn't fit. something that forces her subconscious to pause, to tilt her head, to ask, "Who is this man?" You look at her and with calm authority say, "You strike me as the kind of woman who pretends to hate chaos but secretly loves it." Suddenly, her autopilot fails. Her brain, wired to filter out generic men, wakes up. She blinks. She laughs, maybe nervously. She feels curiosity. And curiosity is the first drug, the first spark, the first domino in the cascade of attraction. Most men never realize this. They open weak, predictable, boring. And from that moment on, the game is lost. They spend the rest of the interaction chasing, apologizing, trying to climb out of a hole they dug in the first 5 seconds. But you will open strong. You will plant the seed of unpredictability, of disruption, of being unlike anyone else. And once that seed takes root, she is no longer in control. She is playing your game, on your board, at your tempo. But movement alone is not enough. Because once you've cracked open the door, once you've ignited her curiosity, you must sustain it with the second pillar, attitude. And attitude is not arrogance. It is not performance. It is not volume. Attitude is silent power. It is presence. It is the quiet certainty of a man who knows his worth, with or without her. Think about the last time you walked into a room. Did you shrink? Did you look for permission to exist? Did you fidget with your phone to avoid being seen? Or did you stand, grounded, shoulders relaxed, breathing slow, eyes calm but unflinching? She notices everything before you say a word. Your posture speaks louder than a speech. Your silence, when owned, carries more weight than any pickup line. True confidence does not scream. It does not beg. It does not rush. It walks into the space like it belongs there. It does not fear rejection, because rejection cannot touch it. That is the attitude that flips the dynamic, that makes her begin to qualify herself to you. Suddenly, without even realizing it, she is wondering, am I good enough for him? Does he see me as worthy? And that shift is the heartbeat of seduction. Confidence, at its core, is freedom from need. And when you radiate that freedom, when you show through your energy that you do not chase approval, you become rare, magnetic, untouchable. Women do not chase men they pity. They chase men they respect. Now imagine this in practice. Picture 2 men standing side by side at the bar. One keeps checking his phone, nervously bouncing his knee, forcing small talk, laughing too loudly at his own jokes. The other simply stands, steady, shoulders back, gaze relaxed yet unshakable. He isn't trying to be noticed, and yet every eye drifts toward him. Why? Because energy cannot lie. Women don't just hear words, they feel the invisible currents underneath them. This is why the man who carries desperation in his body language loses before he speaks. And this is why the man who radiates silent confidence wins without lifting a finger. The salesman analogy explains it perfectly. The desperate one chases, the calm one attracts. Seduction works the same way. She will lean in toward the one who seems whole without her, the one who lives fully, the one who invites but never begs. And here is where the third pillar begins to weave itself into the game. Neglect. This pillar sounds strange at first because you've been taught the opposite your entire life. You've been told to give her attention, to always be present, to constantly show how much you care. But here's the paradox. Constant presence kills desire. Endless attention smothers curiosity. If you never step back, she never has the chance to feel your absence. And without absence, there is no craving. Think about your favorite series, the one that left you on the edge of your seat. Why did it hook you so deeply? Because it didn't give you everything. It ended on a cliffhanger. It left you longing. It made you desperate for the next episode. Now compare that to the 3-hour movie that explains every detail, wraps every plot point neatly, and leaves nothing unanswered. Which one lingers in your mind longer? Which one makes you crave more? Exactly. Neglect is the art of leaving at the high point. It's when the conversation is flowing beautifully, when laughter is easy, when she's locked into you, and you decide to step away. You create a void. You say, "I'd love to stay, but I've got to run. We'll pick this up another time." And then you leave her brain scrambling, searching, replaying. That unfinished energy doesn't fade. It multiplies. When you disappear at the right moment, you become an unsolved riddle in her mind. She starts asking herself questions she cannot answer. Why did he leave? Who is he with now? Does he even think of me? And those questions are not just intellectual, they're emotional. They stir her chemistry, releasing dopamine, tension, and longing that bind her thoughts to you long after you're gone. Most men fail here because they stay too long. They overstay their welcome, answering every message instantly, picking up every call, offering every piece of themselves until nothing is left to desire. But you will master the silence. You will master the pause. You will understand that mystery creates magnetism. That neglect, when applied with elegance, makes you unforgettable. And yet neglect alone is not enough, because there comes a moment in every dance where tension must break, where curiosity must crystallize into action. This is where the 4th pillar takes command. Boldness. This is the moment of truth, the moment most men ruin because of fear. They've built the attraction. They've created the spark. They've even stirred the longing, but then hesitation kills the fire. They wait. They second-guess. They overthink. And the moment evaporates into thin air. The window closes. The electricity fades. And the woman feels it. Here's what almost no one will tell you. Women crave boldness. They fantasize about a man who knows what he wants and dares to move toward it without apology. Boldness is not recklessness. It is not aggression. It is clarity in action. It's when you sense the moment is right and you take her hand as you cross the street. It's when the conversation pauses and you lean in for the kiss instead of drowning the silence with nervous chatter. It's when you escalate not with hesitation, but with certainty. This calculated boldness is the dividing line between men she forgets and men she cannot erase from memory. It's what makes her replay the moment to her friends the next day, blushing, whispering, "He just did it. He didn't ask. He didn't wait. He just knew." That certainty is intoxicating. It cuts through the noise of weak, hesitant men and anchors you in her body and her mind as someone rare, someone undeniable. But let's clear something up, because I can almost hear your doubts. This is not manipulation. This is not trickery. Manipulation is lying, forcing, deceiving. What I'm showing you is alignment, stepping fully into your authentic masculine energy, the kind women are starving for but rarely encounter. You're not faking. You're not pretending. You're not putting on a mask. You're peeling away the layers of fear, of shame, of conditioning, until what remains is the bold man you were meant to be. Think of it this way. When a woman spends time choosing her outfit, her perfume, her makeup, is she manipulating? Of course not. She's presenting the best version of herself, amplifying her natural beauty. That's exactly what you're doing. You're learning how to present your masculinity in its sharpest, clearest form. And when you do, she feels something visceral, something she cannot explain away. That is attraction in its purest form. Remember the chessboard I mentioned earlier? This is where it all comes together. Every interaction with a woman is a match. Most men play defensively, afraid of losing, terrified of mistakes, desperate to protect the queen. But you will play differently. You will be 3 moves ahead. You will know when to advance, when to retreat, when to sacrifice a piece if it wins the game. Because you're not playing to avoid loss. You're playing to win. And that shift in mindset alone is enough to separate you from 97% of men who remain trapped in fear. Playing not to lose is what keeps you in the friend zone. It's what makes you paralyzed, what makes you overthink, what makes you invisible. But playing to win means taking risks, embracing the possibility of rejection, and moving forward anyway. Because here's the hidden truth. Every rejection brings you closer to mastery. Every failed attempt sharpens your instinct. And with each move, you stop thinking and start embodying. Seduction, like driving, becomes instinctive. At first you fumble, you calculate every step, clutch, gear, accelerator, but over time it becomes second nature. You don't think, you flow. That's what happens when you live the 4 pillars instead of memorizing them. They become who you are. And once you are that man, women feel it instantly. But seduction doesn't end with words or even with boldness. Words fade, actions blur. What lingers is something older, deeper, more primal than language itself. That is touch. Touch is the most ancient form of communication. Before words, before symbols, before stories, humans spoke through the skin. And still today, touch bypasses the logical brain and speaks directly to the subconscious. A single touch at the right moment can etch itself into her memory more deeply than hours of conversation. But here's the secret most men miss. It's not the touch itself that matters. It's the timing, the rhythm, the way it arrives, and, more importantly, the way it leaves. Because touch is not about clinging. It's about sparking. A brush of your hand on her shoulder as you laugh. A gentle guide through a doorway. A playful high five that lingers half a second too long. These moments are light, innocent, almost accidental. And yet they leave a trail. They create a contrast, a silence after the touch, a void that her body cannot help but notice. And in that void, craving begins. Most men smother. They touch too much, too fast, too desperately, trying to bridge every silence with contact. But true mastery is in the withdrawal, the space after. The moment when her body realizes it misses your touch before you're even gone. That's intermittent touch. On, off, near, gone. Safe, dangerous, present, absent. It builds tension, a rhythm like a heartbeat, pumping dopamine and oxytocin through her system, binding your presence to her biology. And here's the paradox. The more effortless it feels, the more powerful it becomes. If you look nervous, if you hesitate, if your touch begs for permission, the magic vanishes. But if you touch with calm certainty, with observant awareness, as if it's the most natural thing in the world, her subconscious accepts it without resistance. You don't force, you don't cling, you listen with your skin, adjusting to her signals, sensing her rhythm. And when done correctly, it creates something terrifyingly rare. The experience of being with a man who is both fully in control of himself and attuned to her at the same time. That is magnetic. That is unforgettable. But there is one more weapon in this arsenal, one that few men ever even consider. Cold reading. Not tricks, not fortune-telling, not fake mysticism. Pure emotional precision. It's the art of seeing what she doesn't say, of reading the patterns hidden between the lines. Every woman leaves signals, not in the obvious words she speaks, but in the subtleties she cannot hide. The jewelry she wears, the rhythm of her walk, the tone of her voice, the the pictures she posts online, the things she avoids mentioning. Each piece is a clue, a fingerprint of her inner world. And when you learn to notice, when you learn to connect those dots, you see her more clearly than she even sees herself. The woman draped in bright, flashy jewelry, she craves the spotlight, the reassurance that eyes are on her. The one who dresses in understated elegance, muted tones. She hungers for depth, to be seen not by the crowd, but by someone who truly understands. The one who speaks fast, gestures wide, lives in bursts of energy. She's spontaneous, reactive, driven by feeling. The one who speaks slowly, carefully, with measured pauses. She's strategic, guarded, a woman of calculation. And when you align with these unspoken truths, when you mirror not what she demands, but what she secretly longs for, you become irresistible. Not because of tricks, not because of performance, but because you offer her the experience her soul has been starving for. That is the real secret. Attraction is not about giving her what she asks. It's about giving her what she cannot admit she needs. But here lies the trap. Most men try to do everything at once. They binge techniques. They memorize lines. They force the process. And in doing so, they remain actors on a stage, always faking, always performing. That is not mastery. That is insecurity, wearing a mask. True mastery is embodiment. Embodiment means you stop trying to act confident and you become confident. You stop memorizing moves and you live them. You don't need to think about the pillars anymore. They become who you are. At first, yes, it feels mechanical, like learning to drive. But with practice, it becomes instinct. Your posture adjusts without thought. Your presence expands naturally. Your touch flows without planning. Your words disrupt without effort. You don't seduce, you are seduction. And this is the dirtiest truth of all. The dirty method is not about becoming someone else. It's about stripping away who you are not. It's about removing the years of fear, the chains of politeness, the armor of neediness that society welded onto you. Beneath it all, there is already a man of magnetism, a man of power, a man who can lead, attract, and inspire. You don't have to build him. You only have to unleash him. But time is not your ally. Every moment you hesitate, every day you waste, other men are already using this. They are already living it, already taking the women you dream about. While you overthink, they act. While you analyze, they move. While you wait, they win. So ask yourself, 5 years from now, do you want to be exactly where you are now, with the same frustrations, the same regrets, watching the same kind of men walk away with the woman you wanted? Or do you want to be the one she cannot forget, the one she craves, the one she chases in her mind even when you're not there? The choice is yours. It always has been. You have the pillars. Movement that breaks patterns. Attitude that radiates quiet power. Neglect that creates craving. Boldness that separates men from boys. You have the tools, touch that binds, reading that reveals. And you have the code, the map, the system that only 3% of men will ever embody. Now the only question that remains is, will you use it? Knowledge without action is worthless. Potential without execution is wasted. You can watch 100 videos, read 100 books, drown in theory. But until you step into the arena, nothing changes. You remain stuck, silent, invisible. But the moment you act, the moment you embody, the entire game shifts in your favor. So look at the chessboard one more time. The pieces are set. The moves are waiting. Most men will never even know this game exists. But you do. You've seen behind the curtain. You've felt the power in your hands. The dirtiest method to seduce any woman is no longer a mystery. It is your weapon, your code, your choice. And if you don't use it, the pain of regret will eat you alive, because regret always cuts deeper than rejection. Rejection fades. Regret lingers forever. But once you master this system, rejection won't even matter, because you'll know who you are. You'll know what you carry. You'll know that the game has already shifted in your favor. So I ask you, right here, right now, are you going to keep watching from the sidelines? Or are you going to step onto the board and finally play to win?